Picture this. There's a fungus living inside a nuclear reactor. Not near it, not around it, inside the actual reactor core where radiation levels would turn you into a crispy human burrito in minutes. And this little guy isn't just surviving, he's having the time of his life, growing, thriving, possibly even snacking on the radiation like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Now you're probably thinking, I'm making this up. I wish I was. But stick around because this fungus is just the appetizer. The main course involves mutant dogs, three-eyed frogs, and wolves that might have literally evolved to laugh in the face of cancer. And yes, all of this is happening in one place right now. Let me paint you a picture of the weirdest forest you've never visited. Spider webs hang everywhere, but they look like they were designed by someone who failed geometry class. The patterns are wonky, the gaps are too big, the whole thing looks drunk. Pine trees twist into shapes that would make a pretzel jealous. Their trunks are bent and gnarled like they got into a fight with gravity and lost. The wood has this weird color that shouldn't exist in nature. And these bizarre clusters of tangled leaves sprout from random spots like the tree is having a bad hair day. Then there are the bugs. Little red firebugs crawling on the ground. Normally these guys have symmetrical patterns on their backs. Black and red, nice and neat. Evolution's artwork. But here their patterns look like a toddler got hold of a paintbrush. Warped, asymmetrical. Some are straight up missing an eye. A bird flies overhead and you look up. Big mistake. Its beak is twisted and deformed, stuck slightly open like it's perpetually confused about something. Welcome to the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone, one of the most radioactive places on planet Earth. Yeah, that Chernobyl. The place where the biggest nuclear oopsie in human history went down in 1986. But here's the plot twist. While humans had to pack up and leave this radioactive wonderland, nature decided to stay and throw a party. And boy did things get weird. Let's rewind to spring of 1986, middle of the night. Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant decides to have a spectacular meltdown. And by spectacular, I mean it literally exploded. Boom! Radioactive material gets yeeted into the atmosphere like the world's worst confetti. Iodine and cesium rain down on everything. Plants, animals, the soil, that sandwich someone left on a park bench. Everything. Within 30 minutes, a deer that was just minding its own business can barely stand. The radiation basically barbecued the inside of its digestive system. Cells are dying left and right. Blood flow to the brain goes haywire. Pressure builds inside its skull. Because physics is cruel, blood pressure crashes. Seizures kick in. Multiple organs say goodbye. By the next day, the deer is dead. Just like that. And it's not alone. Pine needles start changing color, yellow first, then red. Trees die for kilometers around. People start calling it the Red Forest. Charming name for a nightmare. Meanwhile, in the nearby town of Pripyat, a shepherd dog is having a rough day. Actually, a rough couple of days. It feels sick, tired, nauseous. Its owners are worried because they feel like garbage too. Nobody knows why yet. Then, the radio crackles to life with an announcement that's basically a masterclass in lying. The authorities admit there was a tiny little accident at the power plant. But don't worry, folks. Everything is fine. Totally under control. Just to be safe, maybe leave town for 3 days. Oh, and leave your pets behind. No big deal. You'll be back soon. Spoiler alert. They won't be back soon. The family leaves enough food for their dog for a few days and bounces. They figure it's temporary. The Soviet authorities are doing what governments do best, covering up a disaster that's about to make history. This family, like tens of thousands of others, will never return. Their dog is now on its own in an abandoned city. 3 days pass, the food runs out. On day 4, the dog leaves the house because hunger is a powerful motivator. He finds other dogs wandering the empty streets. They're all confused, all abandoned, all wondering where their humans went. Then shots ring out. The Soviet authorities decided that stray dogs might spread radioactive material. So their brilliant solution is to shoot them, because apparently that's easier than dealing with the actual radioactive disaster. The dogs flee into the forest. Now they're living in the heart of the world's largest nuclear exclusion zone, with radiation levels that could probably glow in the dark. Many animals develop chronic radiation sickness over the following months. Blood pools in their livers and spleens. Lymph nodes swell up. Thyroids fail. They get skinny. Many die. It's rough out there. But here's where it gets interesting. Over the next 10 years, radiation levels drop significantly. Only humans left are workers and guards babysitting the ruins of the nuclear plant. Beyond that, the area is basically a ghost town. And in this massive empty space, wildlife spreads out like they own the place. Because technically, they do now. Over the years, the exclusion zone becomes one of Europe's largest nature reserves. Bears move in, lynxes, moose, foxes, multiple packs of wolves. Even some original residents stick around. Hundreds of street dogs, descendants of those pets left behind. They're just roaming around living their best post-apocalyptic lives. Swallows fly over the treetops, frogs leap through the undergrowth, and they're all being followed by their silent, invisible companion, radiation. Now let's talk about what radiation actually does to living things, because this is where stuff gets properly weird. When you expose an animal to high radiation, the first sign is often cataracts. That's a clouding of the lens in your eye, makes everything blurry. In severe cases, it causes total blindness. Many animals in Chernobyl developed these. A biology professor named Timothy Mousseau has been studying Chernobyl wildlife for years. He visits 2 to 4 times a year. When we talked to him, he was literally on a research ship in the middle of the Pacific studying nuclear weapon testing effects. This guy really likes radiation. He's seen some things. He'll tell you about barn swallows that look completely wrong. Normally, these birds have blue-black feathers and a red face. Clean, symmetrical, nature's design at its finest. But Chernobyl swallows have white patches on their faces, crooked tail feathers, deformed beaks stuck slightly open. Sometimes you can even see tumors bulging under their feathers. And that's just what's visible on the outside. You can't see that these birds live shorter lives, that they struggle to reproduce, that their bodies are fighting a losing battle against cellular damage. But the real action is happening at the microscopic level, deep inside the DNA. Your DNA is basically the instruction manual for building you. It's made of 2 strands twisted together in a double helix shape. Think of it like a really complicated ladder that someone twisted into a spiral. The rungs of this ladder are made of base pairs. The sequence of these bases stores all your genetic information. Several bases form a gene. Genes tell your body how to build stuff, what color your eyes should be, whether you can digest milk, how long you might live, how vulnerable you are to certain diseases. Scientists think only 8 to 15% of human DNA actually does important stuff. The rest is just hanging out. Radioactive atoms like uranium and cesium are unstable. They decay and release radiation. This radiation carries so much energy it can wreck living cells on contact. It can break DNA directly or split water molecules in cells. This creates free radicals, tiny, angry particles that rip through DNA like a tornado through a trailer park. Base pairs get swapped or deleted. Entire DNA strands can break apart. When radiation hits DNA, it damages it. Most of the time, your body repairs the damage. But if there's enough radiation, the damage sticks around. Sometimes it leads to cancer, or tumors, or developmental problems. Sometimes nothing happens. Many mutations have no effect. Your body fixes them, or they happen in parts of DNA that don't do anything important anyway. But sometimes those repairs go wrong. That's when lasting changes happen, like the warped firebugs and twisted trees we see in Chernobyl. These changes can even pass down to future generations. But some animals aren't just mutated. They might have actually adapted. And this is where scientists start arguing with each other, because evolution happening in real time is a big deal. Remember those tree frogs I mentioned? Normally they're green, but in the exclusion zone some are pitch black, like someone dipped them in ink. The dark color comes from melanin, same stuff that makes your skin tan in summer. Your body produces it to protect against sunlight, but melanin might also help protect against other types of radiation. A 2022 study found the darkest frogs in areas where radiation used to be especially high. So did they adapt? Timothy Mousseau isn't convinced. He says the data isn't strong enough. You can find light frogs in highly radioactive areas and dark frogs in clean areas. The correlation isn't there. This is one of many scientific debates around Chernobyl wildlife. What's real and what's speculation? Both sides dig in their heels. But remember that fungus I mentioned at the beginning, the one living inside Reactor 4? This thing grows in one of the most irradiated places on the planet. Radiation levels are so high that nothing should survive. And yet this black fungus is thriving. Multiple studies suggest it might be using gamma radiation as an energy source. Like plants use sunlight for photosynthesis, this fungus might be converting radiation into energy, then using that energy to grow. Wild, right? Unlike the frogs, the melanin in this fungus doesn't just block radiation, it seems to convert it into food. Researchers have found similar fungi in other radioactive places. Astronauts even studied it on the International Space Station. Scientists hope this fungus could one day act as a natural radiation shield, Maybe for space travel. Because if we're going to Mars, we need to deal with cosmic radiation, and if a mushroom figured it out, maybe we can too. But it's still unclear if these fungi adapted to radiation or were always able to handle it. Larger mammals might have adapted too. Biologist Carol Love and her colleagues at Princeton University studied wolves living in the exclusion zone. They think these wolves might be less likely to develop cancer despite constant radiation exposure. The theory goes like this: random mutations make some wolves less vulnerable to cancer. These lucky wolves survive while others die from radiation's long-term effects, often from cancer. The survivors reproduce. Natural selection does its thing. Their offspring inherit protective genes. Over time, they breed with other radiation-resistant wolves. After a few generations, the whole pack is less prone to cancer. Researchers say the wolf DNA evolved in regions linked to immune response to cancer. Sounds amazing, right? But the research hasn't been published yet, which means nobody can verify it. We just have to take their word for it. And in science, that's not how things work. This happens a lot with Chernobyl studies. Timothy Mousseau wrote a paper reviewing all the literature claiming rapid evolution in Chernobyl. In almost every case except maybe one, the data was too weak. Not enough scientific strength to support the adaptation hypothesis. Scientists love to argue about this stuff. It's like watching a really nerdy cage match. Mousseau did find something interesting though. He and his colleagues sampled bacteria colonies from Denmark and various Chernobyl sites. These colonies often live on swallow wings. Back in the lab, they exposed both sets to radiation. Some Chernobyl bacteria reproduced better under radiation, especially those from areas with moderate background radiation. By contrast, colonies from Denmark and from the most contaminated Chernobyl areas were less resistant. Because the experiment was controlled, the researchers are confident this adaptation wasn't caused by other environmental factors. So bacteria might have adapted. Maybe. The jury's still out on everything else. To study the animals, Mousseau set up around 100 motion-activated cameras throughout the zone. In late 2021, they recorded something unexpected: Russian soldiers. In February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. Troops occupied the exclusion zone for weeks. Almost all Chernobyl research ground to a halt overnight. Some scientists fled. When Russian forces withdrew in spring 2022, researchers returned to chaos. Military vehicles kicked up radioactive dust, offices and labs were ransacked, computers and equipment stolen or destroyed. Long-term surveys interrupted, some irreplaceable data lost forever. Several promising studies put on hold indefinitely. Carol Love and her team never got to return and study the wolves in the field. It's a bitter blow. We might never know if those wolves really evolved cancer resistance. War has a way of ruining everything, including science about mutant animals and radioactive forested. So what have we learned? Nature is resilient, but radiation is no joke. It kills, it mutates, it changes things in ways we're still trying to understand. Some animals might be adapting, others are just suffering. The line between evolution and mutation is blurry, and scientists love to fight about it. That fungus is still chilling in Reactor 4. Those dogs are still roaming Pripyat streets. Those frogs are still hopping around, black or green, mutated or adapted. Living proof that when humans mess up, nature finds a way, even if that way involves growing extra eyes or twisted DNA. The Chernobyl exclusion zone is a living laboratory, a monument to human error, and a reminder that radiation doesn't care about your plans. It just does its thing, breaking DNA, causing mutations, maybe triggering evolution. We're still figuring it out.